Welcome back to Inside Games Daily, the only gaming news show brave enough to report that Microsoft's Xbox layoffs have the gaming industry working through the 5 stages of grief. Really, honestly, just anger over here.
Yeah, frustration, some parts of resignation. I don't know. It's not a good mix, but it's upsetting my stomach, so I'm not happy about it. Of course, laid off Xbox employees, journalists, and gamers had a lot of thoughts about today's massive job cuts at Microsoft. We do too, but man, at this point, I'm almost tired of repeating myself. I hate it. I hate it so much. Brian, what's the temperature on the internet?
It's all over the place. There is a lot of anger, so we'll start with that, and then they run the spectrum. But yeah, a former Activision Blizzard employee, they were not laid off. They had left before, but they blasted Microsoft's management as news of the layoffs broke.
Melissa Chartel, an information security specialist at Epic Games and former Activision Blizzard employee, wrote on LinkedIn, quote, "We all knew it would be ugly, but this is so much worse than I anticipated. 3,200 people losing their jobs. And for Microsoft, this is basically just business as usual now."
Yeah, it's astounding how a borderline routine this is becoming. She added, quote, "All in the name of the shareholders, right? Don't get me wrong. I agree that Xbox needs drastic change, but not at the expense of the people who have been desperately trying to make it work while the executive leadership team just kept digging the hole deeper."
Whew. Yeah, that says it all. Meanwhile, lots of people affected by the layoffs today also posted about losing their jobs. Mitch Rohrer, a senior digital marketing campaign manager at Xbox, wrote on LinkedIn, "I unfortunately lost my role during the Xbox layoffs. I will be okay, but I'm very worried about my coworkers. A lot of them had been on the team for over a decade, and now there's some incredibly talented people out of a job."
I was just telling Brian before the episode, I was like, this is the one that make me the saddest, is when people put 10, 15 years of their life into Microsoft and they're there every day, and then then they're gone, and then all of a sudden they're just gone. That's it. That's a huge chapter of their life that it may feel like it's lost. It's not. Obviously, you got a lot of experience, but hopefully you land on your feet. That's the thing that I'm most worried about for those people that have been at Microsoft for so long.
Yeah, Seth Hawkins, a principal animation programmer at id Software, wrote on LinkedIn that, quote, "It seems like the Xbox layoffs have come my way." Adding, "On to the next chapter of life, I suppose. Just got to figure out what that is."
And Jeffrey Persik, a senior product manager at Xbox, who was also laid off, wrote on LinkedIn, "I'm proud of what we built and even prouder of the people I got to build it with. To my Xbox teammates also affected, your work mattered, and so do you. I'm rooting for every one of you."
Even those who managed to keep their jobs weighed in as well. Jeff Olin, lead web services engineer at ZeniMax, wrote on LinkedIn that it was, quote, "a sad day today for ZeniMax Online Studios and many other Xbox studios." He added, quote, "A lot of very talented folks that I'm proud to have worked with and call my friends were impacted by the layoffs this morning. For what it's worth, it's not just the number of people affected, a lot, but also the sheer amount of industry knowledge and expertise those people embody."
And of course, folks who cover the games industry also commented on the scale of today's layoffs. Chris Kerr, a senior editor at Game Developer, wrote on Blue Sky that, quote, "This is now the 5th major round of layoffs at Xbox since the company spent almost $70 billion on Activision Blizzard in 2023. Another 3,200 livelihoods on the chopping block. Another deafening sucker punch for everyone at the company."
And New York Times reporter Nicole Carpenter, who covers a lot of video game stuff, wrote on Blue Sky, "The scope of these layoffs feels so overwhelming. That's 1,600 people whose lives are instantly changed and thrown into chaos."
That's correct. On Reddit, gamers also wondered what this means for the state of the larger gaming industry. User Great Gojira wrote, quote, "At this point, I honestly don't know why anyone would ever want to go into the gaming industry. I think movie theaters that survive off of employing high schoolers have better job security."
At this point, it's like wanting to be a rock star. Not only is it impossible, but when you get there, Spotify's going to take all your money anyway. Dr. Wise wrote, quote, "Spend $69 billion to buy Activision Blizzard, record massive profits, and then lay off nearly 5,000 human beings at the start of the fiscal year to make the charts look good for shareholders. Absolutely ruthless."
And Thorn14 wrote, "Between Microsoft clearly bailing from Xbox, hardware prices through the roof thanks to AI, and the death of physical media, and layoffs all over the fucking place, it feels like we're hitting a crash."
Yep. Others appreciated the blunt talk from Xbox management. Reddit user FH Bunny appreciated Xbox boss Asha Sharma's honesty, writing, quote, "Okay, I know everyone is dunking on Xbox right now, but holy shit, she's bearing it all here. I liked Phil well enough, but it was always eternal optimism. Asha is slashing and saying, yeah, all that shit in 2018 was a terrible idea. I'm doing my best to right the ship. It's aggressive and may well not pay off, but if it does, this will have been the turning point. So that's really the question. Yeah, we have not seen a coherent strategy or vision for Xbox other than a few positive tweets, some free Xboxes given away, and now 3,200 people have lost their jobs. So she's not come out and been like, okay, all right, guys, we've got Elder Scrolls 6 in 2027. We got Fallout in 2028. Like, none of that. We haven't seen any of that because I promise you that's where it's headed. We're going to get the big AAAs and they're going to release them as fast as possible because Xbox needs money or else they're going to shut down entirely, which maybe that's the goal. Maybe the goal is just to shut it all down. I don't know. But I would love to see a coherent vision. I haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, that's what I'm waiting for too. And some of this talk is especially frustrating. I get it. It was a well-written post. It seemed to respect the intelligence of its reader, and I think people are responding to that. But it's bizarre to hear somebody say, hey, she's throwing the last guy under the bus, and I like that, which is essentially what she's doing. She's just doing it pretty politically soundly. I don't think any of the decisions Xbox made before this were wrong or overtly wrong. They were just betting on a market that did not come to fruition. And people can retroactively claim that they called it years ago. Really, the calling it was when the acquisition went through. And even on this show, we said the fun stops here. We're going to see nothing but layoffs after this because they have to dig their way out of this hole now. Unless Call of Duty just blows up Game Pass, which it didn't. So Sharma's doing the dance. She's saying the things. She's trying to get through this with the best optics she can, but I agree. I'm still waiting to see what the next thing is, because all we've heard is that Xbox is going to double down on its biggest brands. But there's still something kind of rotten there too. If they want nothing but Fallout and Elder Scrolls, it seems like they have to go through ZeniMax for that. And it seems like that means they're going through Bethesda Game Studios, and Bethesda Game Studios can't really ship games these days. Their last one was Starfield. They've been working on Elder Scrolls 6 forever. So who knows? Maybe this surge of money will suddenly accelerate the game development process for them, but it didn't with Starfield. That game took a long time and was kind of lackluster in terms of its content. So yeah, I worry that if they just pump Bethesda full of cash, that Bethesda will hire up a ton of people and still not ship any games. And then we'll be right back here in 3 years with another wave of layoffs or something and no games to show for it. And separate topic, I realize how shitty it sounds to be basically like armchair quarterbacking a corporation when thousands of people also just lost their jobs. But this is basically coming from me not wanting to see this again. I'm trying to imagine some arrangement of the pieces on the board so that Xbox can prosper from here. And whoever survived this round of layoffs doesn't have to worry about another one. Well, I say that, but they already do because they only did half the layoffs today. So now everyone gets to spend the next year with the Reaper scythe just like dangling right next to their neck. And then also be asked to accelerate production on all of these big Xbox franchises, some of which I like. I like Doom. I like Wolfenstein. I like Quake. Weird that one made it into Bethesda's roster of sterling IPs. Yeah, I just really have to wonder, especially when they're slashing id Software in half, and they're one of the few studios that could actually constantly ship stuff. Machine Games did Indiana Jones. They're probably not going to be doing that anymore. So how does this shake out? You let Bethesda Game Studios keep making Elder Scrolls and taking a decade to do it. And then I guess you want id Software and Machine Games to make Doom and Wolfenstein as fast as they possibly can with half the staff. I don't see how this leads to some grand green pasture for Xbox, unless they rehire again. And then what was all this for? I don't know. Do either of you have a better read on this? This just seems unfortunate, and I'd like to see this going somewhere good, but I don't think it is.
I also worry about AI. Asha Sharma came out of their AI division, so are we gonna, are these going to be humans working on these games? How much are they going to incorporate AI? Not to be that guy, but overall, I just really feel like the industry as a whole is just oversaturated. I think there's so many games coming out. I think people have live service games that they play for longer and longer. I just worry that there's more games coming out than people to play them. And this feels like a sign. And just for the industry, I'm thinking these 3,200 people, are there enough jobs in the industry to absorb them? Or is the industry declining? Is it going to be like local journalism journalism that I came out of where there just weren't jobs anymore. And so those people went to other lines of work. And I'm really worried, that this is the future of the gaming industry. And I mean, not to be alarmist, but I feel like when the industry gets oversaturated like it did in the early 80s, with a ton of different consoles, a ton of games, and, quality control got lower and lower, there was a crash. And I'm not saying it's going to crash like it did back then, because it's much bigger, but I do think this feels like somewhat of a recalibration that's going on. I think that, I think some of them are going to stay, some of them are going to get out, but I think it does look like we're in for a painful stretch. And I think we're actually in that painful stretch right now. I think we're in the middle. I think it started actually a couple of years ago. I think there's going to be more of this, but I do worry, just as an industry, are all the people who are playing video games already playing them? And worse, are they playing older games and not buying any new ones? And so we're just, but we're still cranking out more and more and more and more. And I think that's part of the problem of just relying on infinite growth and shareholders getting their money. And I think you're seeing the rubber meet the road right now.
Yeah, you're what you're describing, Brian, just to give a little bit of a bright spot here, because the corporatization of video games is the problem here. Like Sharma said in her note, the 14 layers of bureaucracy to make a video game. And the reason I say that is because games like Mecha Chameleon on Steam just sold 16 million copies or some shit. It's a $6 game. It was made by 2 people in 2 months or something like that. That's the kind of thing that we're seeing a lot of, and that's on PC usually. It's usually the PC ecosystem is a very thriving indie ecosystem that I think most people would say is healthy. They'd say that that's really cool that indie developers can go out and make a bunch of money, make their passion project, have something go viral. Obviously, there's a bunch of other indie developers that doesn't happen to, but the loss there isn't 5,000 people losing their jobs. It's 2 indie developers moving on to another game. And that's what makes that healthier than what we're doing with, again, the corporatization of video games. And the reason I say corporatization is because when people they make fun of, they say the shareholders and they say the CEOs and they say all these, upper management people that are taking all the money, they're right. I know it sounds like a cliche. It's all true. It's so sad. It's such a sad thing, but it's all fucking true. All those people truly are taking the lion's share from the people that are actually doing the work. This is happening all over in every industry. It's not just video games, and it's incredibly offensive. I sent an article to Brian and Lawrence this morning about how Samsung's profits were like 5 times the profits they've been like ever in the company's history because of making chips, and they're selling them at an incredible markup, and they're making profits, and everyone's saying, oh, free market. Fuck no, dude. At some point they could be like, nah, you know what? We're only going to take 4 times the profits. And that's what makes me the angriest about this. And then, of course, when all that stuff comes home to roost, there's going to be a bunch of people that get laid off, but it ain't going to be the fucking CEOs.
Yeah, they get to step away and then just kind of like fade into the background and enjoy all their money. What a concept. I agree with Brian. I don't think we're necessarily looking down a crash. I think there's still a lot of money flowing through games, but I think particular games have seen a plateau. And that was, if you were looking at graphs with any amount of awareness, anyone could have seen it coming, but financiers don't really do that or don't really care. So we had our post-COVID glut of investment. We are now swimming in the sea of games that produced for us. And what's causing a problem is that you have tech companies like Microsoft that expect tech margins on a routine basis. And you can look at a specific game and see that sort of thing if you look at Roblox entirely, or an active, healthy games as a service game. You see the sorts of revenues that tech companies are thirsty for. But you can't churn out a Mecha Chameleon every 6 months. It just doesn't work that way. Getting a shot that's like winning the lottery. You just happen to make the right game at the right time at the right price for the right audience. And because games are so saturated right now, there's really no way to manually hit that bullseye. I feel like you can't target it and intentionally try to make it and then have a global smash hit 6 or 7 years down the line. Because there's just too much competition and too much noise in the marketing sector. You can't really push it anymore. So when Microsoft is kind of congealing around these big AAA tentpole big brand games, that doesn't feel like it's going to work either. I think all they're doing is looking at the math of how those games did work and think that it will work going forward, but we're in a different world now. It makes me something you had said, Brian, about how certain economies just fell apart. It reminds me a bit. I think we might be in the era now where games are doing the sort of adjustment that online content did in the mid-2020 and the mid-2010s. You had loads of investment into media companies that then would buy up online production studios and try to do these really plussed up YouTube videos. But it turns out the audience wasn't asking for that. Maybe some of them were, and some of them have survived and found success now. But by and large, and we have personal experience in this, a lot of those endeavors failed because the economy wasn't there to support the giant corporate infrastructure off the back of the media that was being made and the money that it was earning. Or put another way, it was more efficient economics for people like us to just do our own thing and upload it directly to YouTube without having an HR department and a legal department and executives that like drawing a lot of money and not doing very much, maybe. Not talking about anyone particular there, just general executive shit. So what I worry on another level is that maybe we're seeing a sort of democratization of games making and publishing, where now teams of 5 or 10 will get together, make a game, maybe with the help of AI or other automated tools to help them plus up the production value, and then ship it themselves because there's just no engine that can support the giant money draws that these sorts of organizations require to keep operating.
Well put, Lawrence. That does sound kind of like where we're at, and we've heard personally from developers, like AA developers, that basically those AA studios are going away. They were for a little while because Microsoft is buying them all up, and that may be righting the ship now. That may be fixing itself. Because all of the C-suite executives and shareholders took all their money and all these people lost their jobs and now they're going to have to go out and make their own studios. And I bet they don't make the same mistake. I bet they don't get bought by Microsoft again because let me tell you, a lot of people have been burned today and over the course of the last few years. So I don't know. I mean, we'll see. But it sounds like it's a really interesting analogy. So thank you very much for watching Inside Games today. And hey, maybe go and give your friend or family a hug and tell them you're grateful for them because a lot of people are going to have to do that in terrible circumstances. So hopefully you could just go do that because you love them.